Once again, welcome to the War Room. The Purple Phoenix soars as we have reclaimed practically all of Anatolia in the span of only 7 years, and now we are ready to expand our reach even further, this time in the Balkans. But of course, before that we have to stabilize our conquests because there is so much wealth that is hidden in central Anatolia, and it is kinda sorta killing off our slider expenses. We already have a decent bit of that, and I would much rather not get any more, because right now we are definitely on track to get a lot more. So firstly, we are going to release a few vassals in central and southern Anatolia, with the intention of using them to assimilate all of the Turks that live in central Anatolia to our righteous Greek culture, or some of our cousins such as Cappadocian and Pontic cultures. But before we get into the actual gameplay, definitely consider subscribing or even becoming a member if you're enjoying the video series so far, or if you find it helpful. So let's get right back on track, and firstly I'm going to release some vassals. But by waiting for just a few days before releasing the vassals, it's the new month, and we have become a great power, which is going to be very useful because it will allow us to threaten war instead of just using our regular CBs, such as parliament approved claims, and that will improve our CBs quite significantly. Now let's set out to create some vassals in Anatolia, and my main concern here is to create vassals which will have a Greek majority culture and Orthodox religion. I'll also make Cappadocian an accepted culture because they're part of the Roman culture group, and they will only cost us 0.15 cultural capacity if we actually accept them. Now we have quite a lot of province capitals with Orthodox Cappadocian culture and religion in central eastern Anatolia, so we will be able to release a few vassals here, and all of the Turkish culture and Armenian culture locations that you see in central Anatolia will over time convert or assimilate to Cappadocian culture, because that will be the primary culture of our vassals. So by accepting this, we will be able to fully assimilate and core all of these areas once we end up annexing our vassals, which should start to happen near the end of this century. And after releasing some of our vassals, we can accept the Pontic culture as well, since their relative share of our population is now over 2.5%. So I'm going to do that immediately. And we're also going to release a couple Pontic vassals to the north, and furthermore we will release another vassal once we have finished the conquest of this area. Unfortunately, we had to create a couple Turkish culture vassals as well, but that's quite okay, we can make do with them, and eventually we will enforce culture on them anyways. For now, most of Anatolia has been vassalized. I'm going to take a look here to see if there is anything that we have to close. Some of these urban buildings probably produce wealth which we cannot tax, so I'll close them down, and other than that we're mostly going to use this area as a source for levies, because it is majority Greek culture and the Turks are merely a small minority here. And you can already see how much this has improved our budget. We are making a solid amount of money per month, even though we have a fairly decent amount of legitimacy coming in. And do keep in mind that we did not go through the succession crisis disaster, which literally showers you with so many events that give you stability and legitimacy. So if you did get that disaster in your own playthroughs, you will probably be in a better place than I am right now. I still have to buy up my legitimacy back to 100 before I can go back to doing anything again, and especially before we can remove the consolidated corruption privileges. Next up, we have to take some preemptive action against the growing coalition, because if Egypt and Tunis joins up, we are going to be very much toast, and this campaign will be over. So I do have diplomats improving opinion with Egypt and Tunis, and they should be improved just enough that they leave the coalition within a couple of years, but until then we are going to attack the fledgling coalition, which only includes Cilicia, Genoa and Cyprus right now. Luckily I got claims on Cilicia through the parliament, so we're definitely going to use those to attack them, which will bring in the remainder of the coalition as well, allowing us to defeat them and therefore preempt the coalition before the Mamluks actually join. So for that, I'm going to threaten war against Cilicia, and obviously they will refuse, bringing us into war with them and their western allies. The Cilicians got badly hurt by our vassals before we could move our armies in, so now it shouldn't be all that difficult to destroy them, and we're going to try and catch them in Sis and destroy their armies. Let's see, there we go, they got stack wiped. So now we're just going to occupy all of Cilicia, and ideally we will peace out this war before the year 1346, because we have a couple of claims that are really close to expiring, and ideally I would like to use them before they expire. And finally we got what we wanted. The county of Upper Macedonia has reverted to us since they lacked a valid heir, and I'm not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. To be honest, we have paid off most of our legitimacy, and I believe that we can actually make use of the newfound wealth now. At the same time, we are going to have pretty bad control across the board in our newly acquired locations, and they still haven't managed to integrate any of the Thessalian areas. Lovely. So I guess what I'm going to do here is I'm probably going to release Thessaly as a historical subject, and they might even be able to get us some claims on Athens, and I'm going to keep the rest of the land for myself just for now. I also pulled off a pretty risky operation here. By sneaking past my naval levies past the Genoese navy, I was able to get them to Cilicia, and now we're going to use them to invade the island of Cyprus. They have very few levies, so this shouldn't really be all that difficult, and we will probably not actually take any land in this war, although it depends on whether we can get Genoa to peace out, because we definitely do not want to piss off the Mamluks even more, although they are at below 50 antagonism right now, so they will probably just fall out of the cracks of the coalition the moment that we make peace in this war. The war is more or less over. The Genoese are still out there somewhere with their levies, but Cyprus and Cilicia have both been eliminated and fully occupied, so I guess it's time we made peace, but not just quite yet, because we still have to improve our relations with Egypt a bit more, and I'm really not sure how much antagonism they can actually take. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to put down all of our levies, and we are going to declare war on Serbia, because it is now or never. We will be losing our claims with the start of the next month. And they only have around 11,000 levies, their allies have another 6,000, whereas we alone, just the Royal Byzantine levies, have 23,000 men ready for us to call upon, and that's without including our vassals. So this should be a fairly easy fight, and I'm going to wait for the Serbians to come to us. For now, let us threaten them for war over Ohrid, and of course they will refuse and we will be at war. As expected, the Serbians came to us despite being on the defending side of the war, and we're going to give them hell on this location because it has a +2 modifier to defend their dice roll. So let's see. There we go, that is 1, and we should also be able to destroy their... Oh, they did... Okay, they avoided us. Anyways, we'll try and go here and destroy them in Ostrovo. Very, very nice. We destroyed 4,000 of their men, losing only 1,000 of our own. And we're going to pursue them across the border. We will occupy some of their provincial capitals. I'm not quite sure about occupying Prizren itself. It might be a better idea to just get them to destroy their fortresses, because otherwise the siege will probably take too long and we will probably suffer a lot of attrition related casualties. And the remaining Serbian forces were destroyed in the Battle of Skopje. So now I believe they're down to 0 men. Their allies, the Wallachians, still have some forces remaining, but honestly, who cares about the Wallachians? They're stuck behind Bulgaria anyways. So I guess we're going to try and siege down the town of Prizren, and from experience, the Serbs might just unconditionally surrender at this point. If not, we're just going to keep occupying their countryside until they give up. Also, I hit an interesting parliament debate, the canonical law, which gives you 5% monthly control, and you can actually use a single cabinet member to increase the control of up to 10 of your provinces, because control goes up so quickly. If you manage to micromanage this and move the guy around every other month or so, you can get about 10 to 20% additional control in your entire country, more or less. The Black Death is here, but luckily for us, the origin location is way out there in the steppes, so it's going to take a while before it makes its way to us. I presume we're going to get hit around the middle to late 1347, so that gives us a lot of time both to wrap up our war with Serbia and maybe even declare war on Bulgaria to destroy their armies before our entire levies just evaporate from the Black Death. And if we manage to destroy Serbia and Bulgaria, all of our immediate vicinity will have been cleared. We will get both a lot of lands from these guys and a decent chunk of war reparations, so we should be doing fairly okay at that stage. I'd say it's time to end the war in the east. From Genoa I'm going to take their Anatolian possessions as well as a decent chunk of war reparations, and hopefully this will allow us to survive for a bit longer. And I believe that we are going to fully annex Cyprus, mainly because it is majority Orthodox and Greek, but if we wait for a bit longer it's probably going to become majority Catholic and Greek, so I would rather keep the island right now, and I guess we're going to just fully annex them. This does create a decent chunk of antagonism though, so we'll have to be very careful to ensure that Egypt does not get a pity with us. Otherwise we're toast. We definitely need to keep their antagonism below 50, and we can also take a bit of money, which is going to be useful. The bigger our war chest, the longer we can deficit spend when we need to improve our stability, legitimacy, and get more diplomats. And finally that leaves Cilicia. To be fair, I'm not 100% sure about what to do. There is a case to be made for just not taking any land from them in order to not piss off Egypt, but from the way that it appears in the antagonism breakdown, it doesn't look like they're going to be above 50 antagonism anyways, so I guess we're going to take it, and worst case scenario we get mauled to our deaths by Egypt, which is always a possibility, and best case scenario, nothing really happens. So let's send this, and we are definitely not going to keep the land for ourselves. This is all Armenian and all Miaphysite, so we will have to release those lands instead. We got really lucky and the siege of Prizren has ended. That means we can stand down our levies, declare war on Bulgaria and raise our levies back up, and if I'm not mistaken, we can even make use of parliament approved levies for the additional levy size, so we're going to have a massive army to handle Bulgaria with. Indeed, that is quite a massive army, and it is time for war. It says that the Bulgarians have 12,000 men, but if I'm not mistaken, the Wallachians will also be able to reach our lands now that they're at war with Bulgaria, so we will face around 18,000 men in total, and we alone have 28,000 men before our vassals are even accounted for, so again, this should be another fairly easy and straightforward war for us. The Serbs also unconditionally surrendered, which does put us in a bit of a bind. We need to piece them out as soon as possible, but we also want to ideally take some war reps from Wallachia, so we will probably have to gather our armies and then just rush straight into Wallachia, take out their armies, occupy a couple provincial capitals, and get some war reps before we call it a day. I also realize that I keep forgetting to request a Roman donation. We are 4 years late, so I guess that could have been another 300 ducats, but even now the Pope paid us more than 300, so we're doing pretty okay with the donations, I guess. And again, if in your games the Pope happens to rival you, you can simply improve your relations with them and then accept a Catholic delegation, which will improve their opinion of you by another 50, or at least that's how it's supposed to work, and that should allow you to get out of the rivalry situation with the Papal States, and then you can just demand a Roman donation as usual. To be honest, I haven't played all that much with this disaster, but most of the options here are pretty crappy. Like, you definitely don't want to demand Bailic tribute. They do give you a bit of ducats, but it costs 5 legitimacy, and it will probably cost you more to buy your legitimacy back up compared to the money that you're getting from the Bailics. And some of these other thingies here really don't work. Like, you can patronize the Orthodox monastery, it costs you 5 legitimacy, and the only monastery that you can patronize is Mount Athos, so it really doesn't do anything, and so on and so forth. But anyways, the good option here is request Roman donation, and ideally you also want to reform the Byzantine military at least 6 times before the disaster is over, because I believe then you get some additional bonuses. So we should probably hire a regular army, and for that I am actually going to go back to maintaining our sergeantry. So quick disclaimer here, I did suffer a crash to desktop, so some of the minor details might be different, including the fact that we suffered a very nasty random event for -10 legitimacy, but in any case I feel like 1.2 has severely degraded the stability of the game for me, because I get a lot more crashes to desktop than I used to, and I did actually joke about this in saying that I got more CTDs in the last 3 days compared to the last 3 months. That is more or less the case. I do get quite a lot of them, and you know, the game has just been lagging, performance has been bad. It's still playable, but honestly I have no idea what they did to actually make performance worse compared to 1.1, since none of the changes that they did seem to have such a large impact on the way that things are calculated. But anyways, let's go back to fighting Bulgaria. We're going to destroy a small stack, and then we will try and figure out where their larger stack is hiding. That is lovely. We got a stack wipe. We even managed to capture their regulars. And I guess now I'm going to just occupy some of these provincial capitals. Again, we're hunting for their larger stack. We will seek it, we will destroy it, then we will march on Wallachia, so we can finally finish the Serbian war. Okay, that's a fairly decent victory against the Bulgarians, and technically we do have 100% war score now, so we could actually piece them out. You know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to Pleven first, and then from there we're going to occupy some Wallachian land, peace out Wallachia, peace out Serbia, and then peace out Bulgaria, because their war enthusiasm is also pretty low, and we do not want to full annex them anyways. We just want to take some of their southern lands, and then we will take war reparations from them. Also, the food situation is just terrible. We've been basically scavenging off the land, and it's not going to last us very long, but we don't need to last long. Having a larger army actually is threatening to the enemy, so they do not try to fight you head on, even though they could win because you have terrible morale. So hopefully we can get a couple of provincial capitals here, and that should allow us to separate peace the Wallachians. The Wallachians will give us a lot of money as well as war reparations, and that means we can peace everybody else out. So there goes the Wallachians, and next up we're going to peace out the Serbians. I'm not sure exactly how much land we'll take. I guess it'll be something like this, where we take back all of our cores except the Debar, which we will keep so we can keep fabricating claims on Serbia, and we also take most of their wealthy locations. Kosovo is going to be a really nice vassal for us, and Nish we can make do with as well. So that's going to be it, and this will also include 200 ducats of war reps plus regular war reparations. So there we go. That's going to be it for Serbia, and now that only leaves us with Bulgaria. And from Bulgaria we're going to get all of their lands south of the Balkan mountains. We're going to get a huge amount of war reparations, and they will dismantle quite a few of their forts to the north of the border, so in the next war we can just barge in, destroy them, and take all of their remaining lands. And with this, we are finally at peace. It's been 10 years from the start of the campaign. We have reclaimed large swathes of the Balkans and basically all of Anatolia, and the Byzantine Empire is finally in a stable situation. Well, would you look at the irony? We had cores on these lands at the start of the game, before we took them back, and the moment that we take them back we actually lose the cores, which is just so funny. It's hilarious. They really need to figure out a way of getting coring to work in this patch, but you know, what do I know about it? Anyways, we are going to destroy this rebel Karamanid state, and once they've been dealt with, we will release some of the new conquests as vassals, and then you will see the final form of the Byzantine Empire. Finally, we have a new Basileus Ioannis Palaiologos V, and this guy is an absolute dummy. He's an idiot. 17, 7, 8 stats are just... Well, I guess it's going to be another 40 years until he dies, and we're kind of cooked until then, but there really isn't anything that we can do. Also, it turns out that I miscalculated the amount of antagonism we were getting, and we got coalition ward. So we will have to deal with these guys as well. Luckily for us, the only big shot here is Naples, and they're going to have a very difficult time actually getting their people across the Adriatic Sea. So I'm not really concerned. We're just going to mop up some of the smaller stacks in the Balkans, and then we're just going to piece them out as soon as possible. But the coalition war is okay, the Basileus is definitely not, and I hope he dies. I'm going to put him at the head of our navy, in the hopes that he dies, but I know that he's going to live for at least 50 years. The coalition war is going fairly well, but in the meantime the Black Death has actually spread to our country. I'm guessing it's in Byzantium itself, yep. So I'm not actually going to move the court into hiding. Maybe, hopefully, there is a chance that our Basileus actually dies. Fingers crossed that he does. And other than that, I'm not sure that we're going to do anything here. I guess we might segregate the infected, or maybe even expel the sick and put up some uh, pest houses, but we'll see. For now, we're just going to lose the 7 stability and call it a day. We can also peace out the coalition at this point, and that's exactly what I'm going to. I'm not even going to take any lands because I want to be able to fight them again in 5 years, so hopefully this will give us a short and easy truce with them. And finally, 12 years after the start of the game, we are at peace, and this time the peace is actually going to last a while. After releasing some of our outlying provinces and closing down a bunch of buildings to save money, we are actually running a fairly significant budget surplus of 9.67 ducats a month, and we're receiving a decent bit of war reparations from Genoa, Bulgaria, Wallachia, Eretnitz, and Serbia. And it is time for our new parliament, and with this parliament we are going to get additional taxes, which will finally allow us to get 100 legitimacy and also raise our stability a fair bit. It is parliament time again, so let's hold it in, say, Thessaloniki, and we got balanced the budget. I'm going to choose it, of course, because it's free money, and it will allow us to lose a decent chunk of inflation, which we're struggling with. And if you're running a balanced budget parliament, one of the interesting things is, if you don't have a loan when you begin the parliament, ideally you want to take a loan towards the end of the parliament, because when you do, the parliament will pay off half of the loan, and even with interest being taken into account, you will actually run a profit. And we'll do that near the end of the parliament and then pay back the remainder of the loan immediately, so we do not lose any more crown power, because yeah, obviously we have some issues with the crown power. Since our country has mostly been stabilized as far as the budget is concerned, I'm also going to send most of our cabinet out to integrate the lands out there that we have gained, and this is going to be easier than normal because we have won a great victory during the rise of the Turks situation. We're getting up to 20% additional speed of integration and up to 20% additional pop assimilation speed. This will of course wear off eventually, but by the time that it does, in all likelihood we will have won the fate of the Phoenix disaster, which will give us an additional 10% from the Katapanata government reform. So overall we are going to have a decent amount of integration speed, allowing us to integrate all the lands that we've taken from Serbia and Bulgaria. And speaking of which, I think it might be time to add Bulgarian as an accepted culture, because they constitute such a large portion of our population, although they also cost us quite a lot to accept. So I guess in this case I'm just going to tolerate them for now, and soon enough we will add them as accepted culture once we've got a bit more Greek people living in our country. I was hoping for a good parliament event, but alas, it was not going to come. So I'm going to pass this balanced budget, but before we let the parliament expire, we're going to pass some agendas for the nobility, request additional taxes, maybe ask for larger levies, maybe get another CB on someone, and the rest we'll see about. In the end, I decided to get a claim on Athens, and we can use it to threaten war against them, which will drag in Sicily and Aragon, but to be fair, it's just Sicily and Aragon, and they're passed beyond the sea, so they're not going to be able to effectively fight in the Balkans, allowing us to reclaim Athens. And Athens has a nice little event, which when you recapture it gives you 50% integration process, and it's a fairly decent city, so it will be a lovely addition to our empire. And again, before the parliament lapses, I'm probably going to ask for larger levies, assuming we can get a bit more support here. Or to be fair, we don't even need additional levies. 14,000 will be more than enough to take out the Athenians, and the Sicilians and Aragonese cannot land with their entire army, so we will easily be able to destroy their smaller stacks. So I'm just going to let balance the budget pass, and again, before we do that, I'm going to take a loan, which will half of it will be paid off as soon as this parliament passes, and the other half we can pay off ourselves. and then it's going to be time for war against Athens. Let us threaten war for Athena, their actual capital, and that brings us into war with Sicily, Athens, Aragon, Majorca, and Cagliari. But honestly, who cares? They cannot reach us in the Balkans. We're just going to take all of the lands that Athens has, and for some reason Salona has not joined. Yikes. Anyways, I guess we're going to inherit them. The Black Death has also respread to our country, this time for realsies, and I guess in this case I am actually going to segregate the infected. Expelling the sick and building pest houses does sound lovely, but these actually cost a lot of money, and as you can see we do not have a lot of money. So I'll just have to make do with the segregate the infected communalism gain as well as disease resistance. And again, we are not going to move our court into hiding in the hopes that our Basileus just dies from the Black Death, which would be the luckiest event to happen in the history of this campaign. I'm also going to do something that might not make a lot of sense, but I think we'll do it anyways. I've granted a couple privileges to the Asti, the Burghers, and that will allow us to isolate the cities. It does cost us 40 stability, but bubonic plague impact minus 80% will probably save a huge chunk of our population, and I guess I'm going to do it. Stability does recover, it's very bouncy, so when you have very low stability, minus 43 like we have, it's going to recover more quickly because of stability decay, compared to if you had high stability. So ideally you want to go down to maybe minus 20, minus 30, even minus 50 stability on certain occasions, and it's definitely going to be okay for you. We inflicted a heavy defeat upon the Athenians, and now we're going to pursue them. They only have a single fortress here, so this shouldn't really take long, and we're just going to occupy all of their lands, and then we will sue for peace. In the meantime, the Sicilians are actually landing, but because they can only bring their troops over piecemeal, they are not able to achieve a full landing, so they're just going to get stack wiped almost immediately. There we go. And we're just going to keep killing them as they come until they literally run out of men to ferry over to the Balkans. The remaining Athenian forces have also been destroyed, and that leaves just the Sicilian and Aragonese armies, which again they're going to bring in small stacks, and we're going to destroy them all. Because our first ruler Andronikos died so early, we did not get the decline of the Palaiologos Renaissance event at the start of the game, so this is our opportunity to catch up. And by choosing this option, I'm going to get +1 institution promotion in our capital for 20 years, which should pass the institutions over from Italy directly. And I'm guessing we already are getting a decent bit of spread towards them because of our trade routes. So this is just going to make it easier for us to embrace the institutions. But of course, it would have been ideal if that event happened at the start of the campaign, so we could actually spawn the Renaissance in Constantinople. Finally, the Athenian fortress has fallen, and we shall now march upon their capital. So Athens should be piecing us out any moment now, but before that, we probably want to piece out Aragon separately, and then I'll try our luck with an invasion of the island of Sicily. Maybe we can take a bit of land, and if not, we can definitely take more war reparations from Sicily than just receiving control of Athens. Since we have 100 legitimacy, I'd say it's time to start removing some of these privileges. I'm still going to wait for a few more months so we get maximum communalism and we do not have to pay for stability as much, but I'd say that this is as good as we're going to get, and we will start with the burghers because the trade efficiency modifiers are bad, and also 5% max tax is just literally leaving money on the table, seeing that we have pretty decent amount of satisfaction on these guys. So that's going to be more money that we can extract from our estates, and we will probably follow it with the agriki, and then the kleros, and then the dinati will have to come last, simply because of how much it just costs to remove their privilege. The Sicilian armies have been destroyed, and that means we're going to invade the island of Sicily. Again, I'm not sure whether we'll actually take any land here, although it doesn't seem to cost all that much, especially if we take just the Val di Noto for example, and I guess we'll see. But for now, let us do an invasion, and worst case scenario we can use the war score that we gain to get a bit more war reps from them or something like that. In fact, I think I'm going to be super duper opportunistic here, because Aragon is at war with Castile, and their levies are down to just a couple thousand men in total alongside their vassals. So what we're going to do is we're going to invade Sardinia first, and get some war score by occupying the lands of Cagliari, and through that we might even be able to extort some war reparations from Aragon itself. Surprisingly enough, this actually worked, and I'm able to get war reparations plus 200 ducats from Aragon, so yay. And then we're going to bring over the remainder of our army to Sicily. Our vassals are already on the island, sieging down some locations, so we'll just join them and we will maybe re-establish the team of Sicily, or maybe we'll just extract the money from Sicily as well. Sicily has unconditionally surrendered, and I'm actually able to take most of the island without triggering a coalition in Italy, so that's exactly what we're going to do. And this is possible because, of course, I'm spending for diplomacy just for this month, and we have a cabinet member on improving diplomatic reputation, but it doesn't really matter. We can take a lot of land here, and the remaining area actually has a lot of Neapolitan cores. So what's going to happen is, in all likelihood, Naples is going to seize the opportunity. They're going to attack Sicily and take this land, and then we will be able to release Sicily from the lands that we hold in the island of Sicily, which will in turn allow the Sicilian vassal to create claims on Naples, and then we can use that to attack Naples and restore our rule to southern Italy. And I guess I'm going to do this. This is probably not very optimal. We are also getting back Athens, so yay on that front. And let's send the peace deal and let's see what happens. There we go. The coalition is definitely manageable. We've got Siena, Gubbio, Perugia, and Florence, and none of those are really threatening, and they will all fall out of the coalition within the next 2 years anyways. So I'm going to finally put down our levies, and we are at peace after such a long and exhausting 16 years of fighting. Now we're just going to wait for 1 year until our truce with Naples is over, and hopefully by then they will have eaten up Sicily, which means we will get claims on them. There we go, we get 50% integration in the province of Athens, which is going to be lovely, and it will be integrated very soon along with the other locations that we've gained. Unfortunately, I'm not able to use the full might of our cabinet in integrating all of our new conquests, but our time will come very soon. We are reducing our war exhaustion, we are stabilizing our country, our legitimacy is at 100, and I would say that it is time to start revoking some of the consolidated corruption privileges. I'll start with the consolidated corruption of the wealthy privilege, so we get additional maximum tax on the burghers, because to be honest, they are paying us a lot of money, and then we'll see about the rest. Also, it only costs 25% estate satisfaction. For some reason I remember this being 40%, maybe they changed it, or maybe it's unique to this kind of privilege, but in any case 25% is very much bearable. I'll probably go ahead and remove it from the Kleros next, although it doesn't really do much. The tolerance of the true fate is a pretty bad modifier, and then I guess we'll go for the Agriki before finally coming around to our nobles. At this point of the campaign, we are mostly constrained by truce timers more than anything, because we got a 20 years long truce with the Eretnids. Thank you, Johan, for messing up with the code there, and we cannot really do anything until the Eretnids have been destroyed, because they need to be destroyed for us to win the Rise of the Turks situation alongside the Artukids. But the Artukids are already part of the coalition, so they shouldn't be an issue. And I guess at this point we're just going to wait. And it does seem that Naples is not interested in taking Sicily or anything like that, so we're probably going to release our Sicilian territories as vassals anyways. And then we'll wait. We'll wait until either our vassals fabricate claims on Naples, or the truce with the Eretnids is over. Also looks like Paradox finally managed to figure the Ilkhanate out, because the Gelirids actually collapsed and exploded, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because now we do not have to deal with the Gelirids. It's bad because now we have to deal with 100 different countries, all of which are going to enter a coalition, I'm sure of it. And then there's the Chobanids, who are still a steppe horde, so they might cause some issues for us as well. While we wait though, we might as well remove the consolidated corruption of the elites from our Dunati, and it will cost us 110 stability, which is very bad. Will be plunged to -90, but again, stability is very elastic. We are spending one cabinet member on stabilizing the country, and we're spending a lot of money on it too, so I guess I'm actually going to bite this bullet, revoke this privilege, and that's going to give us an additional 5% max tax on the nobility, which on its own is going to essentially correct our budget in the short run. And our stability is recovering nicely anyways. We'll be out of the balance hell in 7 to 8 years. As usual, it is parliament time, and this time around it looks like we're going to go for fund artisan guilds, because if we manage to pass this one, it will give us 10% production efficiency for 10 years, which is going to be a massive boost to our economy, especially in our capital. And ideally I'm going to pass a couple agendas from the nobility here in order to get through the request additional taxes, which would significantly boost our income, which is already at a fairly acceptable level. And ironically, our ruler, despite being a literal moron, actually has some okay traits. He has 10% efficiency of cabinet and 10% monthly research. So that just goes a long way to show how utterly detached your ruler traits are from your actual ruler abilities in this game. At last, it is parliament time again, and we're going to hold it in Thessaloniki and ask for balance the budget. But our main goal here is not passing balance the budget. We do want to pass it though. Our main goal is getting a CB on the Eretnets, so we can end the Turkish threat once and for all. I got claims on the Eretnets using the parliament, and of course we're going to threaten war using them. It's nice that they finally added threaten war functionality for locations which border your vassals, because previously you could not do this and you would be locked out of the system. We're going to threaten war for the Eretnet capital, and of course they will refuse, bringing us into war not just with the Eretnets but with the remainder of the coalition as well, which includes great countries such as Wallachia, Serbia, and Teodoro. And of course we are going to fight both in the Balkans and in Anatolia, and we're going to reclaim all of our homeland. But seeing that we're going to be fighting a lot, I guess we might as well ask for larger levies, and hopefully this should be just enough, there we go, to put us above 50% parliament support. And I'd say that 26,000 men should be more than enough to beat anyone who would dare oppose us, although of course we will not be able to get our levies from here and here, but still, I'm going to go on two fronts. In Anatolia we will destroy Eretnets and their tributaries, and maybe we might even be able to figure out a way of getting to the Artukids, and in the Balkans we are going to destroy Serbia, Wallachia, and of course Teodoro. Our first campaign against the Serbs has been successful, and of course we're going to keep pursuing them and destroy them. They do not even have any forts because we made them destroy the one that they had in the first war, so this should be a fairly easy battle and theater for us. And in the east we have 10,000 men just waiting to unleash their might upon the Wallachians. The Wallachian armies were wiped out in the Battle of Gien, and now we're going to leave half of our forces here to occupy Wallachia, while the other half goes to reinforce our forces in Anatolia. The Balkan front is more or less over, and we're just waiting for the sieges here to conclude. Meanwhile in Anatolia, our troops have gathered up and are marching upon the Eretnet forces which have gathered in the great city of Zila. Soon the Eretnets shall be destroyed and their lands shall be occupied, restoring all of Anatolia to Roman rule. Of course, things did not go as planned and we got defeated because, yeah, this location is pretty well fortified. But it doesn't even matter. They are still outnumbered quite heavily, and we're going to come back and destroy them as soon as the morale has recovered. In the meantime, we will just lay siege to the city of Chersonissos and destroy the Theodorans once and for all. This time, we shall take revenge for the defeat at Zila, and we shall destroy the Eretned armies completely. Well, they weren't destroyed completely, but I'd say that's close enough. And now I'm going to occupy all of their provincial capitals, before moving on to the Artukids, because we managed to get military access through the Mamluk Sultanate. Now, there is a possibility that we could just vassalize them or take their lands as soon as the Eretnids declared an unconditional surrender, but I'm not going to take any chances. I am going to go and take their capital just in case. We've made it past Egyptian territory and we've occupied the capital of the Artukids, and now their armies shall be destroyed, thus ending their participation in the rise of the Turks. And finally, with the fall of Sivas, a revolution has come to occur on the 27th of May 1366. We have managed to defeat all the coalition members, and now we shall piece them out one by one. Teodoro shall be fully annexed, and Serbia shall follow through. The Artukids will not escape annexation either, although we will definitely release them as a fiefdom. Wallachia shall surrender all territories south of the Danube and pay a hefty war reparations. And finally, the Eretnids and their tributaries shall find their destiny at the end of a Byzantine longsword. They too shall be annexed, thus restoring all of Anatolia to Roman rule after the 300-year interim following the Battle of Manzikert. Finally, the Turkish threat has been contained, the Beyliks are no more, and the Purple Phoenix reigns ascendant over their former territories. The Phoenix is resurgent now, and there will be no marbled Basileus under our watch. We gained the renewed military modifier, and now we have access to the Restore Roman Borders CB, which is probably one of the most overpowered casus bellis in the entire game. So, we did it. We have reclaimed our birthright, and we have restored the Byzantine Empire to her well-deserved glory. Of course, this is not the end for the Byzantine Empire, as there remains another task that we must do. We must re-establish the ancient faith of our ancestors and bring glory to Hellas, but that will have to wait. And for that, first we must survive the massive coalition which is brewing. Thus ends episode 2 of our new series, The Third Odyssey. But before we go, a well-deserved shout out to our members: Dark vs Real, Miekio123, Loghead, Monegas, Gannon Patton, Oswaldo Antonio Carmona Calde, Hunter Herring, BKA321, Esteban David, XD Death Eater, Maychard, Kozma Jaskowiak, Melia Strada, Hagnalt, Metal of Gangalt, VVS Vinicio, Cambrian, Raoul Schopfer, 123456 Freak Show, and especially to our one and only wargamer, Jacob Emmerich. This channel would probably not be alive today if it weren't for your contributions, my dearest members, subscribers, and viewers, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I will see you all once again in the war room.